second longest non-conference winning streak in the country. Duke was 1, these guys were 2. So it tells you when we play the way we're capable of playing, we can do anything, right? But it's all in. Everybody's in. We ain't going, coach. We ain't going.
An exciting day in Minneapolis ends with one of the biggest wins in South Dakota hoops history. How's everybody doing? I'm Jay Elson, and this is Coyote Corner. The South Dakota men were on a roll heading into Saturday's date with Minnesota. Craig Smith's Coyotes had won 3 straight, including a pair of impressive victories over Sacramento State and Eastern Washington on Thanksgiving weekend. But it would take a different kind of effort to do something no Coyote team had ever done: beat the Gophers. South Dakota was 0-14 all time against Minnesota and had yet to beat a high major opponent since moving to Division I. To Williams Arena, where Minnesota had won 47 straight non-conference games, which was the second longest streak in the country. Coyotes seemed unimpressed early on. Bloomington, Minnesota native DJ Davis, and if the up and under, South Dakota opened the game on a 9-2 run. The only guy that was better than Davis in that first half was Trey Burnett. Davis finds him for 3 here, and a couple trips later, Burnett hits the bunny off a great dish from Shai McClellan. 12 first-half points for Burnett. Coyotes by 6 at the break. Second half, Casey Kasperbauer picks up where Burnett left off, slices to the rim for 2. Then he makes it rain. Kasperbauer's third 3 of the day puts South Dakota up 10. Casey finished with a team-high 17. Here come the Gophers, though. Kevin Dorsey, part of an 11-0 run to put Minnesota up 1. Fast forward to the final 10 seconds. Coyotes by 2, but Jordan Murphy gets the putback to go, and we're headed to overtime, tied at 59. Minnesota grabbed momentum in that extra frame. Back-to-back threes from Nate Mason and Dorsey put the Gophers up 67-61 with 1:35 remaining. But the Coyotes didn't quit. Eric Robertson buries the baseline jumper with 7 seconds remaining. That sends them to a second overtime with the game tied at 67. And in that second OT, the Coyotes were on full attack. Davis, the and one. He finished with 10 points and 9 rebounds. Later, it's Robertson right to the rim. He had 16, and the Yotes are back in front by 2. They were down 1 with under a minute to go, but the Coyotes find a way again. Kasperbauer gives it off to Burnett, his only field goal after halftime, and it gives USD the lead for good. The celebration ensues at Williams Arena as South Dakota outlasts Minnesota 85-81 in double overtime. The Coyotes, who won their 4th straight to improve to 5-3 on the season, put 5 players in double figures and recorded assists on 22 of their 33 field goals. Team basketball to the T.
Coming into this game, we were the underdog. We just did what we had to do, followed our game plan. Coaches had a great game plan. Everybody came out and knew how big of a game it was, not just for the Minnesotans, but for everybody. So it's huge for me. I'm going to be talking about this one forever, even when I'm an old man.
There was just no quitting our guys tonight, and we said at every timeout throughout the entire game that the toughest team is going to win. And Minnesota fought hard all night, and I just thought that we were the toughest team.
Definitely good for our confidence. It really shows that we can compete and, at the highest level and beat anybody at any given time.
Now, Craig Smith was thrilled with his team's performance on Saturday. Find out what the win means to him when we come back.
Coyote Corner on Midcoast Sports Network is presented by Dakota Land Honda.
And welcome back to Coyote Corner. Jay Elson, joined now by head coach of the USD men, Craig Smith. And Craig, I know you want to talk about Minnesota. You're itching to do it, but let's start, though, since we haven't had a chance to sit down and talk much yet this season, just by taking an overview of your team. As you first got to work with this bunch this season, what did you perceive as potentially some of your strengths and weaknesses coming in?
To be honest, it was hard to know right away. We had so many injuries. It was a preseason unlike any we've experienced before. You know, we didn't have anyone on the preseason all-league team, which we kind of expected. And so we felt like the whole time it was going to have to be by committee, scoring by committee. We were going to have to try to out-tough people. We were really going to have to play together to be the best that we can be. So the whole was going to have to be better than the sum of its parts. and we're finally starting to see that with our team.
I'm sure you were expecting some growing pains with all this, but did any of the new guys, particular to this point, I guess, have any of them stood out as guys that really have clicked and gotten up to speed maybe faster than you even expected?
You know, it's interesting because you have 13 scholarships in Division I, and we have 3 Division I transfers sitting out, and then with Austin Sparks being out up to this point and Tyler Flack, we've kind of had to throw some of the young guys in there and baptism by fire, so to speak. So certainly Dan Jack has really stood out, had a phenomenal tournament out in California. Tyler Hagedorn's getting better every night out. And those are our 2 freshmen big guys. Shai McClellan has really come on as of late. He's just kind of a junkyard dog, do-it-all guard. Plays a lot of different positions for us. DJ Davis isn't a new guy, but he really didn't see the floor a whole lot last year. Sure. So in a lot of ways, he is a new guy. And so he's really starting to really improve, especially since the Mines game at home. And then there's been by committee other than that. So, you know, it's been a fun year. It's fun to see their progress. And the nice part out is I feel like we can really improve in a lot of ways still.
All right, well, let's get to the one that you want to talk about, Minnesota. You've got 4 guys on your team from the state of Minnesota. What a thrill for them to get the chance to play the Gophers at the bar.
You know, it really is, and we're very grateful to Coach Patino and Ben Johnson for allowing us to play that game. I felt like they were a little tight early. I thought Jack had a very good second half, a couple key baskets, was really good defensively. DJ Davis, like I said, did a great job on King and just really played within himself. And when DJ plays within himself, is a good player for us. And so and I just felt like we were better when he was on the floor. And then Robertson, you know, you get 4 fouls and you take him out and we put him back in, I believe, with just under 8 minutes to go. And he was able to rattle off 16 minutes straight in huge buckets. The bucket he hit to tie the game at the end of the first overtime was clutch with about 7 seconds to go. And that kid's just a winner. And so you're so happy for those guys, and the team and the rest of the team knows how special it is for those guys. Right. And so we had a really good look to our guys all week in practice and certainly in the game.
So you get your first win over a power conference school in the Division I area. You get your first win over Minnesota ever. And you snap that 47-game home non-conference winning streak. Can you quantify yet how big this is?
It's hard to quantify, but, you know, it's credit to our guys, certainly, in believing in themselves and the courage it takes. It could have went south pretty quick when they make the tip in with 1.2 seconds left in the end of the regulation, but shows a lot of courage. It shows a lot of heart. You got to have a tight team, which I feel like we do. You got to have a tough team, and we're starting to display some of those things. So truly a team effort, and now we got to continue the momentum forward.
All right, thanks to you for your time this week, Craig. Looking forward to speaking to you all season long.
Thanks, Jay.
All right, thanks. Well, the Kyle women picked up a pretty big win of their own last week, and like the men, they needed overtime to get it. We've got the highlights and post-game reaction from that one next.
Coyote Corner on Midcoast Sports Network is presented by Dakota Land Honda.
And welcome back. Well, after dropping their first 3 games, the South Dakota women have quickly gotten their season back on track. Coyotes started that turnaround with a dominating win over Marquette in the home opener and followed it up by winning the Florida Atlantic Thanksgiving tournament. Thursday, the challenge got a little bit tougher, though, as the Coyotes returned to the Dakota Dome to take on Drake. The Bulldogs came in ranked 13th in the RPI and number 8 in the mid-major poll. Nicole Seekamp was ready for him. 35 drops back-to-back threes to give the Coyotes an early lead. She scored 12 first-half points. USD would lead by 6 at the half. Bulldogs start to show some bark in the third. Maddie Dean and Missouri Valley preseason player of the year Lizzie Wendell hit back-to-back trays. Drake would be up 52-49 after 3. Coyotes would trail by as many as 8 in the fourth quarter before the offense starts to come alive. Caitlin Duffy, 3 times 2 is 6. Back-to-back threes for her to put USD in front 66-64. She wasn't done. Game tied at 76 now. It's Duffy again. Her 5th three of the night, puts the Coyotes up 3 with 4.4 seconds remaining, but Drake wouldn't die. Off the inbound, Wendell answers to send the game into overtime, tied at 79. Wendell led all scores with 26. In the extra frame, Seacamp does what Seacamp does. The steal, the score, and the foul. Three-point play puts USD in front by 3. After Drake ties it again, the Coyotes come back with Kate Liveringhouse. Great footwork leads to an easy 2. The sophomore had 11 points and 6 rebounds in 17 minutes off the bench. And South Dakota deals Drake its first loss of the season, 92-87 in overtime. Seacamp led the way offensively for the Coyotes with 24. Duffy chipped in 17, while Taya Hemiller added 10.
They're really good in transition, and they did that a lot, both at the start of the game and at the start of the second half. They kind of got back into the game with that transition, but I think we handled that pressure and kind of just, although we didn't defend it so well, we kind of came back with our own offensive punch, I guess, and we just kind of picked it up a bit at the end and managed to get the win.
We still have a lot of stuff that we have to work on, but I think what our team identity is being gritty and finding a way to win, and that's what we did. And so if it took 5 more minutes of overtime, that's what we needed to do.
Well, the Coyotes would get a chance to keep momentum going against winless Portland State on Saturday, and Amy Williams' crew would do just that right from the outset. Up 10-7 early in the first quarter, South Dakota gets it going. Liveringhouse with a lay-in here from Allison Arns, 2 of 6 straight points from the sophomore. And it's Nicole Seacamp, the steal and the lay-in. Yotes go on a 14-0 run over a 4-minute stretch at the end of the quarter. And they wouldn't look back from there, outscoring Portland State 28-11 in the second frame to open up a 54-22 halftime advantage. And Seacamp was just getting started. Here she is showing off the ball skills. Nice behind-the-back move. Then she finds Taya Hemiller, who gets to the lane for 2. More Seacamp on defense. She comes up with a steal, turns that into an easy land. She'd tie a career high with 6 steals on the night to go along with 18 points, 4 assists, and 3 boards in just 15 minutes of action. A big reason why she would be named Summit League's Player of the Week. Yotes gets 6 players in double figures, and all 13 who dressed into the scoring column as they roll 103-61 to earn their 5th straight win and their 18th in a row at the Dome. Clear that 8 games into the season, this team learning how to play together.
At first it was a little rocky, and we started 0-3, but now that we're kind of figuring out, like, if I drive here, I know my teammate's going to be there. If I go here, I know my teammate's going to be there. That chemistry is helping, and it's just helping us click.
Caitlin Duffy is one of several new players making an impact for USD this season. Here what head coach Amy Williams thinks about her new sharpshooter after this.
Coyote Corner on Midcoast Sports Network is presented by Dakota Land Honda.
And welcome back to Coyote Corner. Joining me now is head coach of the USD women, Amy Williams. Amy, welcome back. It's been a while since we've gotten a chance to talk.
It's been a while, Jay. I'm glad to be back.
Well, let's talk about this year's team. I mean, obviously, you have a very nice group of returning core players, but there's also a lot of new faces that you're trying to mix in. So now that you're a month into the season, how do you feel like the team is coming together?
Well, I think we're gradually making improvement, and that's what our goal is right now, is just every day, every practice, every game to try to get a little bit better. And I think our new players are doing a nice job of starting to figure out where their opportunities are going to come, what their roles are, how they're fitting into the niche, and our upperclassmen have done just a great job of helping bring them along.
One of the newcomers that's made a big impact, probably the biggest impact in terms of new players thus far, has been Caitlin Duffy, the transfer from Colorado State. Obviously, didn't get to have her last year. Unfortunately, she had to sit out a year. But now that she's on the floor, is she everything you thought she was going to be for you?
Yeah, I mean, she's playing really well right now, and that's great to see. I think Caitlin, last year we talked before she ever transferred in that it was going to be a very difficult year for both of us. Just it's hard to sit out when you're a competitive player, but also it's hard for us to kind of watch her in practice and know she can help us out and just have to wait for that to happen. But she's done a really nice job of fitting in and finding ways to continue to improve her game, and we couldn't be more happy with her role right now on our team.
Well, as far as the returning players do go, Nicole Seacamp had to sit out the first 2 games of this season. but seems to have picked up right where she left off last year, rather. Nothing surprises anymore, right?
Well, you know, Nicole's a very special player, and when we found out that she was going to have another year to play, and they said 2 games she'd have to sit out, we thought that was going to be okay. And then when we got to those 2 games, I was like, ouch, that hurts a little worse now. But certainly it's been nice to have her back in. I think she was really hungry after having to miss those first couple games. It's hard for her. She didn't even travel with our team to those games, and to have to stay at home and kind of watch has kind of instilled a hunger in her. But she just finds a way to impact with assists and steals and just defensive sparks, just wherever our team needs her.
Well, the results on the floor with Nicole back in the lineup especially have been really good of late. Two more wins last week. The first of those came against a very good Drake team that had some pretty impressive credentials coming in. And with that all considered, with where that team was, 6-0 at the time, ranked top 15 in the country in RPI, how big was that win for your program?
We feel like it was a really big win for our program. Lots of reasons. Number one, just because of what they had accomplished up to that point, and they're a very well-coached team and well-balanced team, and to prove to ourselves that we can step up and knock off a team like that is important, and also the fact that they're in our regional footprint, and we have some recruiting battles and we face against each other. So I think to grab the attention of people, coaches, and players in our area is an important win for us.
Very different game than on Saturday as you take on a Portland State team. You jumped on them early and never look back. But games like this are valuable too, because a lot of your ladies got some very valuable minutes.
Well, it was incredibly important to me that we did jump on them early, and I think sometimes it's easy after an overtime game and a tough, hard-fought game like you have on Thursday to kind of have a little bit of a letdown after that, and we were really guarding against that, and I thought that our kids came out right away in the first 5 minutes of the game to set the tone that we were going to take this game very serious, and that was important for us to learn that lesson as well.
Another big week in store for the Coyotes this week after a trip to San Jose State on Tuesday. You come back home to host the University of Washington on Saturday, and I know you're very excited about having that high quality of an opponent come to your place.
Yeah, we are excited. It's going to be a difficult week this week on the road, and then back home for finals, and then a Saturday game against Washington. But we're excited for that opportunity for our fans to be able to come into the Dome and see a program like the University of Washington and a player like Kelsey Plum, who's one of the premier players in the country, coming in and battling it out with our Yotes, and we're excited for that opportunity.
All right, well, good luck to you this week, Amy. Congratulations on the wins to this point. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of them.
Thanks, Jay.
All right, Amy. Well, as Coach Williams can attest, college basketball is a very different game this season, and when we come back, we're going to take a closer look at some of the rule changes that are forcing coaches and players alike to adjust on the fly.
Coyote Corner on Midcoast Sports Network is presented by Dakota Land Honda.
And welcome back. Well, at this stage in the young college basketball season, easily the biggest talking point among hoops fans has been the rule changes put in place this year by the NCAA to both the men's and women's games. To help make sense of what's new and how players and coaches are responding, here's Alex Heiner.
It wouldn't be a new college basketball season without a few tweaks to the existing rules set by the NCAA. Unlike in years past, however, the changes this season are much more obvious to even the casual fan. Let's start on the men's side, where the NCAA has put an emphasis on increasing freedom of movements and decreasing physicality, all with an eye to boosting scoring and speeding up the game. The lowering of the shot clock by 5 seconds was designed to help with the latter, but it's tighter officiating on the perimeter and inside that have made for the biggest adjustments for the players.
It's very different. It's a big change because you can't be as aggressive on the perimeter as you have in the past.
Everything is tighter, so offensively and defensively, you just can't put your hands on them at all. Any forearm, when you're guarding the ball, it's a foul instantly.
On the women's side, the major change lies in the clock. To speed up the pace of play, the NCAA has made the switch from playing 2 20-minute halves to 4 10-minute quarters. This shift in format has necessitated a change in the bonus and double bonus rules as well. Gone are the days of 1-1, as now a fifth team foul in a quarter will automatically result in a 2-shot free throw. Like the men's game, the way fouls will be called to decrease physicality has also been implemented for the women, but it's the change in game flow that has posed the biggest hurdle for players and coaches alike.
I definitely think the flow of the game has kind of been chopped up just a little bit. Kind of getting that flow is sometimes once you kind of get in a rhythm and things start going, it's kind of interrupted.
The biggest adjustment for me personally has just trying to adjust to one less called timeout and trying to figure out when and where we can afford to take those timeouts.
Even though the changes will take some getting used to, both Amy Williams and Craig Smith agree the game will be better served in the long term.
I think that it'll benefit the game of women's basketball in the long run, and hopefully that in turn will benefit our team.
There's going to be a little bit trial by error in the this year and next year, but I know in the long term it'll be a very positive thing.
Well, big changes this year and possibly bigger changes to come. Craig Smith told us this week he would not be surprised if the men's game follows the women's lead and shifts from halves to quarters in the not-so-distant future. Smith says it's all about college mirroring the NBA, and this would be another step in that direction, Jay.
All right, thanks, Alex. Well, remember, both Coyote basketball teams back in action this Saturday for a non-conference doubleheader at the Dakota Dome. The men host Cal State Bakersfield at 5:30, while the women take on Washington at 8 p.m. You can catch both of those games right here on Midcoast Sports Network. All right, that is our time for this week. For Alex Heinert, I'm Jay Elson. We'll see you back here next week for another episode of Kyle Corner.